Every class has that one student who lights up the whole room just by walking in, and also that one guy who sits in the back like he's invisible and nobody even bothers to learn his name. But what if those two stories collided? That's exactly what happened with Maki, a lonely, forgettable nerd, and Umi, a stunning, popular girl. A friendship absolutely nobody saw coming. It's springtime. Inside the classroom, the teacher introduces herself to the class and immediately kicks things off with that dreaded first day ritual, the personal introduction. Every student gets a sheet of paper to write a little about themselves, and the teacher draws them randomly to decide who goes first. And the first one up is Maki. The dude feels that wave of anxiety crash into him, but he stands up anyway, slouched, insecure, basically talking to the floor. On his sheet, he wrote that he likes gaming, though he doesn't have a super specific preference. The teacher asks if he has any plans for the weekend. Plans? Maki? Every single Friday looks exactly the same. Mom's at work, he's home alone, orders a pizza, cracks open a soda, and games non-stop in front of the TV. When he gets tired of that, he watches videos on his computer. And movies? The guy is all about shark movies, crocodile flicks, giant monster in the water type stuff. For some reason, that last part catches Umi's attention. Next up is you. She shoots out of her seat with this insane amount of energy, and instantly, the whole class starts buzzing. Yu's angelic looks were just impossible to ignore. The way her hair moved, the way she carried herself. She introduces herself with so much enthusiasm, mentions she transferred from an all-girls school but wanted to spend high school in a mixed setting. Then she wraps Umi in a big hug. They went to the same school. Yu basically drags Umi into doing her own intro too. Umi says with mild irritation that yeah, she came from the same school as Yu, and having to deal with her again was honestly kind of a drag. Some guys whisper in the back, "Bro, this class was absolutely stacked." Maki watches the two of them and thinks, yep, those two would be the center of attention for the rest of the year. Not that any of that had anything to do with him, obviously. And sure enough, Maki stayed on the outside looking in. He'd always been a loner, all the way up to high school. The daily routine of a popular person is a completely different world, right? But for a loser like Maki, it was school, home, and on free days, locked in his room. He was used to it. Not that he liked it, of course. For a while, all he really wanted was just to laugh and hang out with friends after school. That's it. Nothing crazy. Meanwhile, Yu was nuzzling her head against Umi and going on about all kinds of nonsense. Guys wouldn't stop talking. The two of them together were seriously hard to ignore. Yu's smile was just ridiculously contagious. But then one guy whispers, "Umi's gorgeous and super chill too. It's just that standing next to Yu, she kind of fades into the background a little." Maki accidentally starts picking up on their conversation. Umi was planning to watch a movie, and Yu wanted to know which one. Umi turns her phone screen around. Yu looks at it and makes a face. Umi's taste was kind of out there, but Yu tries to backpedal. She wasn't judging, obviously, not at all. But Umi already knew Yu would never be into that kind of movie, so she'd watch it alone, like always. Maki was at a video rental store, browsing the shelves. He scanned one row, then another. Made up his mind, went for a classic, reached out his hand and, oops, his fingers touched someone else's. He apologized, still not really looking up. It was Umi. She'd been right next to him the whole time, and the nerd hadn't even noticed. The two of them talk for the first time. Maki remembers and asks if she didn't have something going on today. Umi steps a little closer. So he'd been eavesdropping on her conversation with Yu? She tells him that's not cool, but honestly, it was kind of hard not to hear. Those two were loud as sirens. Umi apologizes for her chaotic best friend, but about that thing she'd mentioned to Yu, it was sort of true. The real reason she hadn't gone out with Yu was Maki himself. Umi had something to sort out with him. She pulls a piece of paper from her pocket. It was that self-introduction sheet from class. The two of them had a crazy amount in common: skills, interests, hobbies. Umi had been looking for exactly this, someone like her. But during the class introduction, she hadn't wanted to let any of that slip. She kept it to herself. Then Umi asks which movie Maki would recommend. She was new to this whole genre. Since day one of school, she'd wanted him to show her the ropes. Maki hands her a DVD. Piranha Shark. Umi's face says it all. What does a piranha shark even mean, bro? And just like that, the two of them start going back and forth trading the nerdiest movie takes. Just like that, without anyone around to notice. The friendship between Maki and Umi quietly began. The three popular girls glide down the hallway, Yu, Umi, and Nina, passing right by Maki. His phone buzzes. Umi glances back with a small, sneaky smile. On the screen, Umi hitting him up to hang out. That afternoon, Umi shows up at his place. Maki had already ordered the pizza. She pulls a soda and some chips out of her bag and asks what he got. The two of them start rattling off the pizza toppings at the exact same time, completely in sync, proof that their taste really was identical. Cheers to Friday. Pizza spread out on the table, controller in hand, game fired up. Battlefield Star, 1-on-1. Umi was absolutely convinced she was about to destroy Maki, hand him a loss he'd never forget. Last time she'd dropped every single match, but that did nothing to shake her confidence. The pizza slices kept disappearing. The game was pure suffering for Umi, and a total breeze for Maki. Game over. Umi nearly takes her frustration out on the floor, but Maki tells her to chill. Don't mess with the neighbors downstairs. She begs for a rematch, eyes watering. It was already late at night when Umi finally headed out. Maki grabbed the cups and she handled the floor. That's when Maki, totally by accident, glanced at Umi's figure. She noticed, asked why he was looking at her like that, fixed herself up, crossed her arms, called him a creep. Maki tried to explain. It was just that Umi ate so much and stayed so slim, unlike him. She turned to face him and said it was because she worked out. Then she stepped closer, pointing right at his little belly, pinched his weak spot, flashed a smirk, and launched herself at him, going absolutely feral with tickles. He'd bodied her in the game. Now it was time to collect. It was the third time they'd hung out, and it had been way too much fun. Neither of them could have imagined getting this close to someone. Maki says Umi is kind of weird for hanging out with a guy like him, even if they do share the same interests. She fires back. Maki was way weirder for inviting a girl over to his place right off the bat, but he only had games on the brain, so what could you do? Umi invites Maki to actually go out sometime, for real this time. Maki tells her to hold on and asks if she actually wants to leave the house. Obviously, students need to breathe once in a while, right? Go shopping, grab food, hit up an arcade. It wasn't fair to rely on Maki's place as their only hangout, so she was going to teach him how to actually enjoy life outside four walls, just the two of them, even if the friendship stayed a secret from everyone at school. It was a necessary call. If anyone found out, it would turn into annoying drama one way or another. Umi promised she'd figure out a way to make their meetup fly under the radar, even if they bumped into someone. They were young, they needed a little thrill in their lives, and if someone did find out, they could just own it. That honestly wouldn't even be the worst thing. Umi jokes that she'd just tell everyone at school they were dating. Simple. Maki, completely deadpan. But, we're not dating? At home, Maki asks his mom Masaki for more allowance since he's going out with a friend. Ms. Masaki literally cannot process this. Had her hearing gotten worse? Was someone shaking down her son for money? Was this an imaginary friend? Of course not. Maki had actually made a real friend. Ms. Masaki opens her wallet on the spot and hands her son a fat stack of cash, absolutely beaming. In their chat, Maki and Umi exchange messages with disguised profile pics. His, a soda can, hers, a shark. They confirm how much spending money they're each bringing. Could not be more low-key. Back in class, the three popular girls are chatting while Maki settles into his seat. He glances over at Umi, and she gives him this tiny little hand signal. You clock something's off. Umi plays it cool, just a little itch. Lunchtime, Maki eating alone as usual. He's sitting there wondering if he's actually a good friend to Umi. Then he notices some commotion nearby. Some guy was about to shoot his shot right there. Maki's first instinct was to bounce before things got weird. But then Umi's two friends appear out of nowhere. Yu faceplants onto the floor, notices Maki there and talks to him. Nina, on the other hand, had no idea who the guy from their own class even was. Whatever. The two of them shove Maki forward to watch the guy confess to Umi, and the second prettiest girl in class just got asked out and shot it down cold. The guy pushes, asks if Umi had a boyfriend, if she liked someone, if they could at least be friends. All rejected, just like that, ice cold. Nina, Yu, and Maki stand there dissecting that legendary rejection. Umi was always like this. Nobody was surprised. But the guy had also tried a little too hard. Cute enough, but way too desperate. Yu explains to Maki that this same guy had tried his luck with her a while back too. Maki did not think that was a good look. He figured Yu was pulling moves like that behind the scenes too. Yu confirms, but only because Umi was her best friend, okay? Umi finally puts the situation to bed once and for all. Yu apologizes for dragging Maki into the whole mess. Nina tells her to hurry up. So Yu asks to borrow Maki's phone. He hands it over without thinking much, but Yu just wanted to slip her own number in, on the sly. Maki told Umi he'd seen the whole thing since he was eating nearby, said he'd been worried about her, figuring she'd be upset. But Umi was the one who apologized for making him worry. She wasn't mad, not even a little. Maki asks if she's always been this popular. Kind of, though nothing close to Yu's level. Why'd he ask that? Jealous? Not even close. He just thought that kind of popularity seemed like a problem. Umi wants to know why. She pushes, leans in with a smile on her face, fully ready to hear this. Maki tells her not to laugh, but here goes. Popularity was something he couldn't even really wrap his head around. It means a bunch of people see you a certain way, right? They want to get closer, they want something special from you. And on top of that, you have to manage everyone in just the right way. That's exhausting. Being alone is rough too, but it beats stressing over stuff that doesn't actually matter. Umi gets where he's coming from, even if she thinks he's being a little dramatic. Says she likes that side of Maki, but just as friends, okay? Maki says the same thing right back. He doesn't dislike Umi, but just as friends. Maki only has Umi as a friend. Umi only has Maki as a hobby buddy. The two of them pick up their controllers, ready to go. Maki warns her. Zero mercy this time. Same as always, the week dragged by in the usual grind, and then Friday rolled around, the day they'd planned. Umi makes up an excuse to her friends and dips out early. Yu notices she seemed way too happy on her way out. Nina immediately calls it, must be a boyfriend. Yu says that's ridiculous, Umi wouldn't do that. Or would she? Umi lightly boops Yu on the head, telling her not to feed into Nina's nonsense. More people start crowding around the girls. Maki gets up and walks out. He was already at the meetup spot, stressing about whether he'd shown up too early, whether he looked okay, whether his outfit was right. Then Umi appears, taps him on the shoulder. Maki practically jumps out of his skin. Umi immediately roasts his outfit, pretty much what she expected, but she admits Maki was giving off kind of a brooding vibe with that look. Acceptable, but next time, bring some color. Maki points out that Umi had also shown up way before the agreed time. She brushes it off. She knew he'd be early, so she didn't want to leave him standing there alone. Umi likes the spot he picked. It was something fresh. When she hangs out with her usual crew, they never go to places like this. Maki responds, and Umi tells him to stop being so formal. They're friends, come on. Maki switches to her last name. Still not satisfied, Umi complains he didn't use her first name. Maki says he'll use her first name if she uses his. But then Umi says they're not close enough for that. Maki calls her an idiot. Umi gets annoyed and threatens to drag him over to the spicy food section right then and there. Okay, snack break. Umi recommends a movie to Maki. A really good one called Angel Shark. It's about a genetically engineered shark with angel wings that goes on a killing spree. And the kicker, the wings look absolutely ridiculous. The two of them dive deep into the conversation, hyped out of their minds. That movie becomes next week's plan. Maki asks if all these hangouts are going to be a problem for Umi, but no. She thinks he's really considerate for even asking. Suddenly, some girls nearby recognize Umi and start whispering, isn't that the girl who coldly rejected that upperclassman? She's pretty and everything, but she really thinks she's all that. Umi gets visibly uncomfortable. Then she asks Maki if he was willing to be a little embarrassed for her sake. Didn't even wait for an answer. Umi started talking super loudly, feeding Maki bites of food, calling him babe and all that, pretending he was her boyfriend. The girls were shook, Maki too. He almost blows the whole act, but Umi kicks him in the shin under the table. Then she ends up making Maki feed her too. And the poor guy's hands are literally shaking as he hands her the bite. The girls talk even louder. How do you reject an upperclassman and then end up with some boring-looking guy? Umi stands up, fuming. How dare these clowns say something like that? They didn't even know Maki. Maki calms her down, says it's fine, but even the food kind of lost its taste after that. Umi has an idea. What about the arcade? The two of them have an absolute blast. They sit down on a bench, taking a breather. Umi says she's gonna run to the bathroom. Maki sits there lost in his thoughts. He never thought he'd actually go out like this with someone. Sometimes it's worth taking that leap and dealing with a little awkwardness. Out of nowhere, Yu, Nina, and two other guys appear. Maki nearly has a heart attack. Nina asks who the heck this guy even is. Yu reminds her about that time they were spying on Umi, and clarifies that Maki is in their class. Yu asks if he's there with someone after noticing a second backpack sitting next to him. Maki calls Umi in the bathroom. She picks up and immediately hears Yu's voice from across the room. Maki tries to step away from the group, but Yu keeps pressing him to hang out with them. Nina tries to slow Yu down a little, but Yu keeps going, convinced it'd be more fun this way. Then she turns to Nina and asks if she by any chance might actually be feeling some type of way about Maki. Nina denies it, all flustered and stuttering. Yeah, sure. And that's when Maki understood exactly why Umi went out with just him on weekends. Maki turns Yu down. Going out in a group can be fun, but there are people who just can't vibe with that setting. You end up forcing yourself not to ruin the mood, constantly worried, running on empty. That wears you out, man. On the train heading home, Umi thanks Maki for saving her. It had all started about a year ago, when Umi got more serious about her hobbies. Growing up, she'd always been the one in charge, organizing the friend group, handling drama, stepping up when nobody else would. At first, people are grateful, but eventually it just becomes expected. The pressure piles up, and when the mental exhaustion finally hit hard enough, that's when she found her current hobby. She'd wanted someone to talk to about all of it. She could have told Maki earlier, but she'd been careful about how she approached getting close to him. Umi tells Maki to take the open seat. She worked out, she was strong, she could handle standing. She also apologizes for putting him through all that. She'd deal with Yu later. Yu had already texted asking what she should do, because she felt bad about how she'd acted toward Maki and wanted to make it right. Umi starts gently running her hand through Maki's hair, completely irresistible. Tells him he can go ahead and sleep if he wants. The next day, Yu is standing in front of Maki apologizing for what happened. Students around them start staring, baffled by the whole scene. Maki kept trying to reassure Yu that everything was fine, meanwhile freaking out internally about all the eyes on them. Yu thanks him for forgiving her and invites Maki to hang out later, saying it loudly, and even brings up the phone numbers they'd exchanged the other day. That was supposed to be a secret. The surrounding students stare at the potential couple with completely confused expressions. Umi, Yu, and Maki walk together to have a little talk. Yu opens up a bit about Umi. She had absolutely no idea the two of them had been hanging out. The two girls notice they're being tailed by Nina. That girl had the most suspicious energy ever. Umi grabs Maki's arm, and the three of them take off running to lose Nina. They book it. At Maki's place, Umi brings up the subject from the week before. That whole spying situation, seriously. And another thing, why did the two of them have each other's numbers? After the explanations, both of them apologize for having spied on Umi. She tells them to come in close and flicks them both right on the forehead. Deserved. Yu apologizes again for what she'd said to Maki. He explains that he gets anxious in big groups. Yu gets it, then asks if he really cares a lot about this friend of his. Umi and Maki both turn 10 shades of red. Umi says they should all head out already, but before that, Yu asks Maki if he wants to be her friend. Umi looks over at the whole thing and,